Hello, Vivi's sleeping baby flamingo and I welcome you to our second sense today of our series where we are reconnecting with authentic self, true nature, through nature. And I was reading this morning, Vivi woke up a little bit later than usual. And so I picked up a book this morning and I was reading, and of course, synchronistically, I came across something I really wanted to share that's perfect for what we're doing. I find all the time that the next step, the thing I didn't even know that I needed or wasn't even looking for, just continually falls in my lap. And this was one of them. So before I do that, though, I would love for you to pause if you haven't done this, because it's a really important step of our journey together, is grab your journal and your pen and mark down between 1 and 10 your mood today, 1 being awful, 10 being fabulous, and just a few notes about your experience of your life today, what you're perceiving as problematic, anything you feel to write down today. Please go ahead and do that. And then when you are ready, I'm going to read to you this quote, and I will give you the source after I read it. So in the introduction, we were talking about kind of my take on why we've disconnected from our true nature and from true nature and the costs of that, and the 3 branches of that disconnection. And one of those branches was consumer society or industrial growth economy. So this quote that I'm going to read you directly talks about that in a way that links our connection with wild nature and our reconnection with true nature and the importance of that. So here's the quote, it's short. The enlivened soul and wild nature are deadly to industrial growth economies and vice versa. I think most of us are aware of this unlimited growth economy and its devastating effect on the planet, and also maybe we're less aware of the devastating effect on ourselves as soulful, connected beings. This constant chasing after more and faster and easier is in direct conflict to us being in connection. And I talked about that a little bit in those introductory videos, like I said. So I just loved that quote because wild nature and reconnecting with wild nature and our wild nature is really the solution and the healing key to all of the issues that we're experiencing individually and as a planet and a system. So this actually is from the book, Nature and the Human Soul, Cultivating Wholeness and Community in a Fragmented World. And this is a book that a friend of mine recommended to me the other day and is incredibly exactly the next step of where I'm going. So this is Bill Plotkin, and I have linked that at the bottom of this video for you. So I think that is so massively important and really shows us the power of reconnecting, not only for us as individuals, but for actually changing the systems that need to be changed in our world for healing on all levels. So today is, as you saw on the thumbnail, the second sense, and that sense is the eyeless sight, seeing without sight, the sense of seeing without eyes as heliotropism, or the sun sense of plants. Okay, so this is such a cool one. They're all cool. They're all amazing. This is a sense that we have as human beings as well that we can tap into. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and just give you kind of an intro into that. So first of all, let's talk about heliotropism. I just happened to see when I woke up this morning my little aloe here and this little succulent, and I have them facing this way, and the sun comes in this way through my bedroom window. So it's like this. So as you can see, it's leaning towards the light because it's collecting the most light. If it's leaning, it's light collecting leaves in that direction, and plants eat light. That is their food. This one you can see kind of started out up this way and was like, oh, the light's over here. So it kind of took a U-turn, and there's one on the other side as well. So this is heliotropism. This is the ability of plants to actually grow towards the light. And I loved that as a reality about plants. And I also love it because we actually, as humans, have these interconnected senses and natural attractions that are also really the same. They attract us towards what's going to allow us to thrive in our lives. So that's, I think, a great example symbolically of that for us. But as we're going to keep talking about it, it's also going to be a sense that is a physical sense as well. So I wanted to reference this book for you guys, Thus Spoke the Plant. This is Monica Gagliano's book. She is a scientist, a plant scientist, and this is a very interesting and amazing book. But what we know about plants scientifically now is that they're not just reacting to stimulus, they are actually making decisions. They're decision makers in their lives. And you can read more about it if you're interested in that book. It's so interesting. They will grow away from EMF fields. They will kind of decide which input is the most kind of toxic and grow away from that. So, but there's so much in this book about plants, and plants are one of the ways we can be with wild nature and reconnect to our wild nature. So if you have a lot of plants in your home and you're caretaking them and you're watching them and just being a part of their lives and vice versa, it can be a really nice way to reconnect with nature just on a daily basis. So the next thing I wanted to show you, so many books today. I'm not saying, hey, read all these books. Definitely, hey, read all these books. But just to have some of these maybe you have already read. Michael Talbot's The Holographic Universe is a really incredible book as well. And I wanted to read you something from there to introduce kind of the next part of this sense. So, despite our unwavering conviction that we see with our eyes, reports persist of individuals who possess, quote unquote, eyeless sight, or the ability to see with other areas of their bodies. And then he quotes David Eisenberg, Dr. Eisenberg, who's a clinical research fellow at Harvard Medical School. He published an account of two school-aged Chinese sisters in Beijing who can see well enough with the skin of their armpits to read notes and identify colors. And there's actually lots of evidence of people doing this. I've read this in several books. One of them is also, oh my gosh, I'm blanking, Autobiography of a Yogi, which I'll also link below. There are a lot of reports in that book of remote viewing and the like. So we have this idea that we're limited even in our ability to see with the physical organs of our eyes, and we have a lot of evidence that says that's actually not true, that we're not limited to that. And what I love about all of this stuff is really just kind of blowing the lid off of our expectations and our limitations. And when we really reconnect back in, we can really get a sense of what is truly possible. And that's also what I love about the holographic universe. So as far as today and our exercise, I would love you to go find a naturally attractive place to you, whatever feels the most inviting to you. And I want to start the practice today also of just asking the area or the tree or the plant, whatever it is you're going to be in connection with today and for the rest of the days, just asking permission, just taking a pause and asking permission, either verbally or non-verbally. Is it okay if I join you? And we start to get in that practice of recognizing nature and every component of that as a sovereign being. So in that way, we can start recognizing ourselves as that too. So just taking a pause, asking that either verbally or non-verbally, just waiting maybe 10 seconds, kind of feeling into, does it still feel inviting, or does it feel like maybe I want to move to a different area? That can also come in the form of, we might see, oh, I actually am seeing that there are a lot of thorns in this area I was going to sit down in, or we sit down and it's really prickly, or we notice a snake right there, a rattlesnake, for instance. So those are also signs like, okay, well, this place initially felt attractive, but I'm actually getting the message to move to a different spot. So we're taking in all of that information and just checking in and seeing how we feel about it. But as yesterday, we want to really just notice, what are we feeling attracted to going and spending a few minutes sitting next to? So I want to invite you to do this in a natural setting where there are some growing plants around or trees, and just kind of observe, is there heliotropism going on? And I guarantee you there will be. And for instance, outside of my apartments, I will often, like I mentioned, go sit on the grass there. And the trees there are several pine trees, and then there's an evergreen tree in front, and deciduous tree in front, and then the pine trees behind. And with the deciduous tree, you can see that the pine trees, because the light comes from this direction and there's very limited light coming from this direction because they're up against a building, they are all kind of spreading around the tree that's in front of them and growing up high above. You can see they're not putting a ton of energy into the places where they're not going to be collecting light, which is what plants do. They're very efficient at that. Nature is very efficient. So that would be one thing that I might note in my notebook if I was, if I was doing this exercise today, which I'm going to be doing. Is how trees and plants are growing to collect the most light. And they obviously don't have eyes. They are responding to the light using other senses, and we are able to do that too. So I invite you, after you've done that, to close your eyes and just notice where you're attracted to noticing the light. And obviously we can see, to some degree, we can experience light through our eyelids. There's another part to this if you're interested and brave enough. And I was introduced to this exercise through Amir Zogi, who was one of my teachers really early on, and I still love all his material. But he had us, I went to a retreat in Australia with him, and he had us do this exercise where we blindfolded ourselves, and we were each with a partner, and we walked through the forest very slowly, but noticing how we sensed when we needed to move to the side without being able to see anything. We were able to sense what was in front of us and to be able to avoid getting hurt. So we have those senses that are really, really completely undeveloped to our knowledge, or really underdeveloped that we can develop more. But just tapping into the fact that those senses are there, and those are just a couple of examples that occurred to me that you might want to try today. So enjoy today. After your exercise, please again make a few notes, do your 1 to 10 mood scale, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful connected day. Bye.